Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of the Triple Option. Hope you had a great 4th of July. I hope you watched the documentary Independence Day about President Whitmore destroying the aliens that came from above. Just a
I got
great
that
American
reference.
holiday. Thank you, Kevin. I know, a film buff you are. Great
Uh-huh.
American holiday deserves a great American guest. We've got the hardest working man in the business, Zach Blostein from Noles 247. Zach, what's up, man? It's been a while.
Yeah, man, I'm glad to be back. One of the early guests of the role cast back in the
That's
day,
right.
but you guys are doing it big and better. So I'm glad to be back here with you and obviously with these guys as well.
One of the OGs of the rollcast game, and it's good. I'm glad we've made the format switch to video, which is great. We got to get that mug of yours in 4K. You are the face guy of Knowles 247. Speaking of my two face guys, Kevin and Adam, how are we doing, compadres?
Go ahead, Kev.
Yeah, I mean,
Not at once.
I'm in a
You
beige room,
excited guys, you.
not in a gray room. So I moved houses. That's what I've been doing. So a little bit behind. I'm excited to be caught up on all the recruiting news myself. So
Adam,
Trey Adam officially at 1,100 words of an offensive line position preview, and I had a
That's it.
fourth birthday my child's fourth birthday this weekend. So yeah, I'm doing great, man. I'm full of piss and vinegar.
well, that's good. That's good. I'm glad you haven't asphyxiated yourself with a plastic bag because that sounds like a special ring of hell. Well, Zach, you look great considering. Jesus Christ, my buddy, how you doing? June was busy.
Yes, it was.
What did you think? We're going to talk about some specific articles that you wrote that were great, by the way. Sign up for Knowles 247 after you go to the X's and Knowles YouTube page and sign and put the notification on. I won't chill it anymore. Overall, what'd you think about the June for Florida State recruiting?
Yeah, I guess the one word I would use is just organized chaos. I think that was an article that or the name of an article that Brendan put out for that mega camp on the 6th of June.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole month in general was just crazy. I mean, all across the country, schools were hosting visitors on campus pretty much every day. Florida State didn't have one day of the entire month of June where there wasn't a prospective student athlete on their campus,
Jesus.
which is crazy. Chris and I were out there for most of those days, but it was just, compared to what we've seen in the past, especially with those big events like a mega camp or the elite camp, or even those, they had tons of camps, as you guys know. Yeah, just it was a crazy amount of just nonstop. We get 2 days off, then you're on a 7-on-7 big man, and then an indie camp, and it was nonstop. But the Florida State staff had energy throughout, and it was all organized and really they had a great attention to detail throughout the entire month of June.
Now, Zach, being the only person at Knowles 247 that's actually somewhat like close in age with these kids, that they may not be creeped out by them, like you talking to them. What was the pulse of like the kids? A lot of people, there's been quotes out in the coaching sphere about fake momentum and other things of that nature. What was the kind of feeling you got from the recruits on both, like, I guess, just what did they think of the staff?
Well, I think the biggest thing was the relationships that were formed prior to this month.
Right.
A lot of the recruitments that you're seeing coming to an end, that fake momentum that Manny Diaz is
The nerve of him.
over a year. Like a Quayshawn Sapp, for instance. We'll talk about him later, but just, he's a guy that Alex Atkins has been in communication with for over a year. He said he's been a silent commit for 3 months, so he already knew he was going to Florida State before the month of June even started. But once they actually got the kids on campus, the priority that these kids felt they were while at FSU stood out. That's one of the things that, when we were talking to them coming out of their visits and just being there at the Moore with them, you see the FSU coaches, Mike Norvell, even just if there was a big time visitor or just, a top target on campus, Mike Norvell was leading the charge with the entire coaching staff outside, on field and off field, just greeting these prospects and their families, and that made a lasting impression on a lot of these guys.
Any coaches that stood out the most to you? I mean, we've seen they've got a fun energy, this coaching staff, right? They're like dancing through doors, doing like dorky dad dances. Kenny Dillingham has a song that, even as somebody who likes old man music, I barely had even heard of, playing from his phone. So a lot of people, a lot of rivals have said that it's a corny staff. But like, who stood out to you? And did the kids kind of like that dad energy a little bit, that fun dad vibe?
Yeah, well, like you said, like Kenny Dillingham is obviously like the leader of that corny
Of the dad culture.
yeah, but that's him. You know, he's not trying to be someone else. And I think a
Yeah.
lot of staffs, you know, other places are trying to relate to the kids, but like the coaching staff has to be themselves. And Kenny Dillingham did that when he played that song, and everyone went crazy about it. But Alu Ball is kind of a low key guy, and you know, he liked that. He liked the attention that he was given on that trip, and I just think that like corniness or whatever with these guys is not like a downside to them, in my opinion. You know, you could say that about other dudes that are trying to relate to the kids and it's not authentic. But you know, with Kenny Dillingham, he's on the younger side, but he still kind of has that like corny dad vibe to him. So, but yeah, I think Dillingham is kind of leading that charge with guys that are just um, thinking outside the box. Like with him in specific, he was the guy who came up with the Midnight Madness idea.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So he came up with that idea, and obviously that was a huge hit. They got all those top targets on campus, and him, you know, coming up with that idea, then forging that with the rest of the staff, and getting all those top guys, it just started the month off well. But you, when you're coming off a 3-6 season, you got to be creative, especially in recruiting. And I think the month of June kind of, you know, showed that they have the ability to do that.
And I agree. As a dad, Adam is a dad. Kenny Dillingham has the authentic dad vibe. Like, Kenny, if you're listening, I'm sure you are. If you're ever and I will grill some burgers and get some grass stains on our New Balances, open invitation. But speaking of authenticity, they authentically made some big moves with some really large name targets in the month of June. Zach, you just wrote an article, had 5 names who I think Florida State made the biggest move or the biggest splash. I'll go through some of the names now. And then we can just talk about like what they did and what kind of position they are with some of these names. All five of these names are blue chip kids. So the first one is 5-star wide receiver from the Midwest, Hala, Kevin Coleman. That's a huge name. What happened? What did they do with Kevin?
Yeah, well, we were just talking about Midnight Madness. Kevin Coleman was one of the first recruits to enter the facilities at FSU in June. He loved his visit. He was there for multiple days. I think the biggest thing, like aside from that visit, just about his recruitment to Florida State and how it's trending well, is the fact that he didn't step foot on any other campus that, you know, is a major threat in this recruitment. He went, and I think he took a day trip to Missouri, the hometown school, but they're not viewed by anyone as a threat to Florida State and the others involved, like in Oregon or Bama. So FSU was the only school to get him on campus this summer, and it was for an unofficial visit. Obviously, he's going to take official visits to other schools in the fall, but you got to like that, you know, a whole month of June for kids to take visits to campuses across the country. He's a 5-star receiver, and Florida State's the only school to get him on campus. That's pretty impressive by the staff.
That's wild. And if I had a mock class, I might consider putting him on it. We'll see if you did.
Do you think that Florida State made that big of an impact that's why he didn't go visit other places, or was it just a matter of it didn't work out?
Well, I know that the weekend, I believe after he visited Florida State, he was at a 7-on-7 tournament with Travis Hunter, and I think it was the NFA one at IMG Academy.
Yeah.
I think the only trip he was supposed to take was a trip to Texas, I read yesterday, but that didn't happen. I think he loved the Florida State visit. He's a guy that's not making a decision anytime soon. He's consistently said that he's going to go and announce his pledge at the All-American Bowl. So, obviously long way to go, but unofficial visit to Florida State in June was just massive, and I
Yeah.
think
So how does the staff, off of a pretty mediocre season, get a 5-star on campus night one? Like how does that happen?
well, like I said before, it's just the relationship. Kenny Dillingham, Ron Dugan's both leading the charge with him, and just they're on the phone like multiple times a day. Like I don't think any other offensive coordinator in the country is talking to Kevin Coleman more than Kenny Dillingham is. And Coleman said that himself. It's authentic. You know, the relationship has been built over the past year plus since they first offered him. And Florida State was the one school he knew he wanted to get to, because they've made him a priority for so long. They've been in communication with him virtually for that entire time period, and then he wanted to see it in person. And by all accounts, that visit went really well.
The next two guys are names that Florida State has been really closely linked to. One was actually a commit. So you've got 4-star, a lot of people say tight end. Florida State's recruiting as wide receiver. Jaleel Skinner has been just really closely associated with Florida State for a long time. And then 4-star defensive lineman Nigel Kelly, who was actually a commit, and I feel like that commitment is a little bit of a roller coaster. Mama Dukes loves social media. She's very active.
Be nice.
No. I love Mama Kelly. I love your tweets, girl. Keep going. Keep going. You tweet hot fire. I love you. I don't want that kind of smoke. But just a recruitment that's all over the place. Both these guys took visits in the month of June, but you still felt that Florida State made some big gains. I guess how and why?
We'll start with Jaleel Skinner. I think like Kevin Coleman, he was at the Midnight Madness event. He was actually there longer than Coleman was, and he was rooming with Travis Hunter, the 5-star FSU DB commit. Obviously, everyone knows him. They were at the QB Steve Clarkson QB Elite Retreat the weekend before heading over to the Midnight Madness event. They flew down together. AJ Duffy was there too, but it was basically Hunter and Skinner rooming together in Tallahassee for like 4 or 5 days before leaving town. Skinner then took officials to 4 other schools: Florida, Miami, Alabama, and Texas. His last remaining official is to Florida State. And I'm hearing that he's most likely going to visit Florida State at the end of July, which would just be massive to kind of, steamroll that recruitment and get it going again, after he took 4 consecutive visits to other schools. I still think Florida State stands in a great spot with him even after those visits. And that's just impressive, because all those visits were fully paid for official visits. Florida State was the only school to get him on campus unofficially. I think he actually visited Clemson, but it's unclear if they're really after him right now. It doesn't seem like they're that active with him in his recruitment. Sure. But FSU was the only main school to get him on campus unofficially. And if he makes it back in July, I think that's just a great sign. And then obviously he's official visiting for the Notre Dame game on September 5th.
Now he kind of seems as though he's fascinated with this idea that he's a wide receiver. And I think he, in what football is today, he probably is a wide receiver or could be classified as one. Do you think that some of these other schools have kind of dropped the ball in his recruitment? Like I know Florida's called him the next Kyle Pitts, and while Pitts played a lot of wide receiver there, he was classified as a tight end. I know Miami's kind of pitched that Brevin Jordan role to him as well, another tight end role. Do you think that some of these other schools have kind of dropped the ball in calling him a tight end?
Yeah, and I almost think it's more of what you kind of hinted at, where they're comparing him to other players. I think Skinner is really big on him being his own type of football player, a pass catching weapon, whether it's, lined up as a traditional tight end or receiver. I don't think he really minds that much. But the fact that schools are like, oh, you're going to be the next Kyle Pitts. We just had this guy produce this much. That's going to be you next. Like, I don't think that's the pitch he wants to hear. He wants to have his own, path written at a school. And I think Florida State's kind of pitching like, you're our guy. Like, you're one of the top receivers on our board, along with Kevin Coleman, who he's really close with. He's literally played, I think, 3 or 4 7-on-7 tournaments alongside Kevin Coleman, as well as Travis Hunter with that Cam Newton team. And I think he's sold on that idea. I think a lot of schools, like you said, they're pitching tight end or they're comparing him to another tight end that's had success at that school, and I don't really think that that's something that is, a pitch that's working with him.
Interesting, man. Florida State, it seems like they don't try to like out Bama, out Georgia. It seems like they take a different approach on this, with at least some of the stuff you hear coming from the official visits. They'll show kids like not just the highlights, but some things that they don't do well. Like, hey, we would coach you up on this. And I think it's a really good differentiator for a team that hasn't had a lot of success on the field. And another theme that you see with these guys too is because they're having to recruit so many legacies this cycle, like Julian Armella, Marvin Jones Jr., a Lamont Green Jr. And you never really see that they push like, you could be the next your dad, you could do this. They're really good at getting these kids to believe they could kind of craft their own persona. So it's good to hear that type of message is resonating with Jaleel Skinner, because it seems like the staff is pretty adept at selling it so far. Nigel Kelly, what's going on with him, man? All over the place, but we still feel good about him. Mr. Arsack, you feel good?
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually looking to catch up with him tomorrow, trying to get on the phone with him and see where he's at after a crazy month of June. He was literally all over the country. Took 3 officials, bunch of unofficials. I mean, he's really exploring his options, obviously, and I think Florida State's still squarely in the mix, even with all those elite schools involved with him, like the Georgia or Clemson, and obviously the other 2 in-state schools are heavy in pursuit. I think FSU got him on. They did get him on campus for the June 5th elite camp, and he was there the day before with his teammate and FSU commit Devon Mortimer. It's going to be an interesting recruitment. I think it's going to be one that plays out over the course of the fall and probably into the early winter months, like November, December. I think he's hinted at making a decision in either November or the early signing day. So it'll be interesting. I just think that it's going to be a tough one with all those schools involved. I think Nigel Kelly is really, as well as his mother, they really want to explore what all these schools have to offer. I think they went out to Oregon, Indiana, and LSU for officials.
All over the place, dude. It was a busy month.
Yeah, which is just crazy. And then he's back at Florida State. The only known visit is for the September 5th game against Notre Dame. But I think I think his recruitment extends into at least November and maybe even further than that.
All right, last 2 on your list that Florida State made the biggest moves with in June. One's an offensive lineman, so I know people are going to be very interested. Number 2 is a running back, and I'll be honest with you, running back is one of the positions that's intrigued me most, because I feel like nobody really knows what's going on with their board. I know you do, Zach, because you're the ultimate insider. You're plugged in. You the plug. But 4-star offensive lineman Elijah Pritchett, 4-star running back Katron Allen. Florida State made some big moves with these guys, and where do we stand?
Yeah, I think they made a bigger move with Elijah Pritchett than Katron Allen.
Mm-hmm.
Pritchett was the guy that they hadn't really had much footing with before the month of June started. There was a little bit of rumblings before, like in that couple weeks before visits opened up, that FSU was starting to make a move. He officially visited starting on June 3rd, I believe, and then it ended that weekend. He returned for a big man camp later in the week and worked out with Alex Atkins and Mike Norvell one-on-one. So that was pretty cool. I still think Alabama's probably the toughest competition in this recruitment, with Georgia also involved. But we'll see. Alabama's obviously picking and choosing with their offensive linemen in any position, really. So, the best case scenario for Florida State would be they fill up at that position. But I think Pritchett's a good enough prospect that he could probably make his way into any class, including Alabama.
Okay. You say this is a unique recruiting cycle as far as like room for some of these classes. Not many people outside of Florida State are going to really be taking a full class of 25. You think right now Pritchett is a take at either like a Bama or a Georgia?
I think so. I think definitely Georgia, and I'm pretty sure he's a take at Bama.
Okay, well,
Also, before we get
Sweet.
too far, I'd like to throw in, we did talk about Pritchett, Skinner, and Coleman back on a couple episodes ago. So
Oh,
if you
this
want to see some
guy.
film of that,
So if you want to, if
We
you
got that
wanna,
too.
you would have also seen it if you would have subscribed to the YouTube channel. You lazy bastards. However, so we got some guys who made a move with.
Hold on a second. Hold on a second. We're talking offensive linemen here.
Oh, okay. Go. Oh,
You
sorry.
can't talk offensive
Continue.
linemen without me asking a question. So, what's his future plans looking like, though? I know he's taking the official to FSU. Do you think they can get him back on campus maybe the end of July or for a game this fall?
The goal is
Pritchett,
to get
that
him
is.
Yeah, the goal to get him, the goal for Pritchett is to get him back on campus at the end of July, like you said. I think that's basically the Florida State staff's focus right now with him.
Yeah.
Where he's located in Georgia, it's like a 2-hour drive, I believe, 3-hour at Carver. So getting him to a game wouldn't be the hardest thing, and I know Florida State staff is really close with his offensive line coach at his high school too, Ryan Bartow in specific. He's kind of been assisting in that recruitment. So,
Name drop.
yeah,
Listen, the king of the dad vibes, my man, just
Yeah,
like
we call
dancing through
we call
doors.
him we
doing
call
the
him
thumb
Mr. Bartow
pinky
around
move.
here.
Oh, does he, Sir Bartow? Yeah, I like him. He can have a dad beer with me in Iowa as well. Seems like a fantastic gentleman.
We'd like to get him on the show. So Zach, if you could pull some strings for us.
Oh, Jesus, all right.
Let's
Let's whore ourselves out. Not while we're recording on the main show. My God, have some dignity.
I have done.
Let's get to this mock class. We talked some.
Hold on. Katron Allen.
He's been
No,
CB'd to Penn
no.
State.
Zach got a lot of heat about this one though. Zach got a lot of heat about Katron Allen being on this list and Marvin Jones Jr. and Julian Armella and all these other guys not being on the show. I want to let the man speak.
Yeah, well, I put him on the list just because I viewed him as a real long shot for Florida State heading into June. I didn't think he was going to visit, and I think he's probably not going to end up at FSU. Obviously, you've seen the Penn State crystal balls. But when I was making this list, I'm like, who do they make big moves with? And I think like Trey mentioned, the running back board is kind of weird, just because you got Jalen Glover, Javonte Barnes, Katron Allen. All three of those guys are kind of near the top, and I think getting that one of their top guys on campus was just massive. Putting him over like a Marvin Jones Jr. or Julian Armella was tough for sure, but I wanted to spark some conversations, some controversy. We like to do that, but I think with any of that stuff, like people are going to have their own opinions on it, and I think there's you could easily argue that Julian Armella or Marvin Jones Jr. had moved up with FSU specifically, and their interest in both of them taking unofficial visits over the summer. But I think with both of them, they have a long ways to go in their recruitment.
And defensive view as well with the Katron Allen thing. The title of the article was biggest movers. So from Katron Allen, you maybe went from here to like here, whereas like a Julian Armella, you went from like here to here, and Marvin Jones Jr. the same. They both had a higher starting opinions of Florida State.
If you had an addendum to that article, or maybe you could add a sixth player, who would it be?
I'm not going Jones Jr. or Armella. I'm going Earl Little Jr. I think
you are spicy.
Yeah, I'm not going to go the traditional route. I think Earl Little Jr. Visiting for that entire first I think it was June 4th to the 6th weekend. It was pretty massive. He worked out one-on-one with Marcus Woodson at the elite camp. Shot some video of that, and that was pretty neat that he actually worked out. I just, I think Alabama obviously is the biggest threat with him. Those South Florida DBs like to go to Bama and in Georgia, and they've had some success with it. So it'll be hard, but I think Florida State made a move, and their defensive back class is obviously elite right now. But they want to add at least probably one more, and I think Earl Little is definitely in contention for that last spot.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Dude, it's good.
Let's talk about your mock class, Zach, because this is the cojones on you, my friend, because you want to talk about something that gets clicks, but also just gets the people going, either positively or negatively. It's a mock class. And no matter from what happens until now in December, this will be used against you. Like you said, it was the gospel.
Looking
So
forward to it.
mock class, beginning of July, but let's go through Zach's. Kevin, if you hear a name that tickles your fancy, throw on some film and we'll look at some film. I'll go positionally. This is Zach Blostein's mock class 1.0. I'm assuming more to come.
That's the plan.
Subscribe to Noel 24/7. Let's get Zach some more hoodies, get some nice blinds for those windows, and just subscribe to his website. All right, quarterback, AJ Duffy, nobody else, a one quarterback class. Not much to say here other than I'm knocking on wood because Florida State in high school quarterback commits has been very shaky recently. Looks solid. He's throwing up a lot of choppy chops and all the clips that I see him. He was just at the Elite 11. Zach, did you hear anything about the Elite 11? He did. I heard he did a lot better in like the more team oriented stuff than like the individual drills. Did you hear anything that people might not know about AJ Duffy at Elite 11?
Well, I know Andrew Ivins, who was out there for 24/7, made a dream team for the 7-on-7 portion, and AJ Duffy was the only quarterback that was put on there. So that was pretty cool. I know that he was struggling a bit with some of the pro day stuff and some of the testing, but when it came to 7-on-7, I think Ivins kind of noted that he was the main quarterback that wasn't scared to push it down the field. And there's some highlights of him on Twitter. Throwing some deep bombs to even Jaden Gibson, another FSU receiver target. So that was pretty cool. And I think he kind of stepped up his game as the competition kind of rose in that 7-on-7 tournament out there.
Kevin, we heard he's got great anticipation. Does that have you doing you getting some Kellen Moore vibes or something like that? He's starting to get a little excited. We're talking about quarterbacks.
Yeah, so that kind of reminds me. We did a video of him, and people were like, "Is he the next Mackenzie Milton, Kellen Moore?" That's easier said than done, but anticipation is a big word when it comes to, well, also he's like 6'3", so that kind of goes out the window. So but anticipation, in my opinion, is the most underrated value of a quarterback. And so, especially at this college level, you're going to see a lot of zone defense, a decent amount of spot drop, fire zones, and being able to understand where the gap is in the defense and throw it before the receiver gets there. It's what Jameis did so well that allowed him to be so successful. He wasn't successful because he was the best athlete and had the best arm and whatever. He was successful because he could throw the ball before the guy was open. And the word anticipation is being thrown around for AJ Duffy, I think that trumps any sort of 8 for 13, performance at a summer camp,
I like that. Well, Monsieur Duffy has the anticipation in spades, and that makes us all happy. Let's move on to running back. We got one guy, Rodney Hill, who's already a commit, the Swiss Army knife dude from Virginia. And then the guy who rounds out the mysterious running back class, Zach, you think it's Jalen Glover, the guy who is just – he's kind of built squatty, I guess, but like in a good way. I like squatty running backs, like a thick boy, like a nice squatty running back. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. We think he's the lucky guy that gets to round out this running back class. Do you think it's because the staff likes him so much, or because that's kind of the one after the deck is shuffled, that's who they're left with?
I think it's a mix of both. I think they really like him. The one drawback on Jalen Glover everyone talks about is his speed, but he makes up for that with a lot of shiftiness and change of direction, and massive production. I think he had over 30 touchdowns in his junior year, looking to improve on that in his senior year over there at Lake Gibson High School, home of Florida State, fellow Florida State 5-star commit Sam Mccall.
Oh, nice shot! Whoop,
yeah, that was nice.
Whoop. My goodness.
Who's he look like? Who's he look like?
Jesus Christ. You kind of like Maurice Jones-Drew vibes
kid,
a little bit,
he just played football at Florida State last year, and he played running back.
Webb?
You think he looks like Webb?
Just he's spitting
Yeah,
image.
I see it too. Just so solid.
Stocky, great feet. He's inside his body. He's very balanced.
A little bit more agile than him.
Not great.
Not
great speed. Not great speed. Plays well out of the backfield. I mean, just they are just alike.
I think Norvell was salivating when he saw him lined up in the slot earlier.
Oh, come on, tiptoes. Oh, okay, I like it. Adam, are you happy with this being the other running back in the class, or are you a little disappointed?
I don't think it's a great running back group this year. Even like Katron Allen, I don't even think he's an elite running back. He's good, and he's probably one of my more favorite backs of this group. But I think Glover would fit in nicely. I think he's one of those players that can run in a zone scheme, can run in a gap scheme.
Yep.
You see he can catch the ball out of the backfield. Zach talked about his production. Yeah, I think he'd be a good get.
More versatile than I thought originally before seeing the tape. He looks like he's got some pretty solid hands. And like Zach said, because he is the professional, Sam McCall's high school starting to get a little bit of a pipeline. We like to talk about pipelines in high school.
Yeah.
Forget that 5-star DB next year.
That's right. Keep your eyes on that. That's a nice little teaser, Adam. Once again, you are the best of the best. Let's go to wide receiver. Look at the synergy. I love it. Let's talk about wide receiver, because if this class comes together, my God, solid. You've got the one commit, Devon Mortimer, who I think is actually, I think his stock has been up. I don't know if he's one of those guys that'll jump from 3-star to 4-star, but this was a good scouting job, I think, by Mike Norvell and the staff. Then you got Kevin Coleman, the 5-star, and Jaleel Skinner. From your biggest movers list, we actually project them both in the mock class. That kicks ass. That's wonderful. I like that. Do you feel solid about those mock projections, or are we feeling a little shaky?
I mean, I feel pretty solid on Jaleel Skinner, more solid than Kevin Coleman, just because I think Jaleel Skinner probably isn't going to take his recruitment all the way till signing day like Kevin Coleman is planning to. And that, with the season and everything that has to go on in the fall, especially with Florida State and just having to endure, probably some tough losses just because of where the talent level is right now on the team. I don't think FSU's selling recruits that we're going to win this many games, but reality comes quick, and we've seen it countless times these past cycles with top targets, and obviously that worries me, but I think they've done a great job of building a relationship where they can probably mitigate some of that risk that comes on with tacking on some losses.
Nothing like the actual football games to take a piss on all this fun recruiting talk. Am I right?
We gotta be real though. Yeah.
So true. It's so true. Jesus Christ. Hopefully, like I said, hopefully the beginning of the season looks good. We'll move to tight end. Josh Newberg's favorite take. Brian Courtney. Oh man, is Josh?
He hates that.
And
he doesn't hate the kid, but
I get it. I get the mentality behind it. So I understand. But I've also heard some conflicting opinions where they like the take.
I disagree. I disagree with Josh completely on this one.
Well, Josh is my friend, and Adam
is
my friend.
He's
so
a
we'll
friend
say
of the show also.
It's a polarizing take. It's polarizing take.
All right, let me just say this. All right, since we're here and we're talking about it, you have a position that is very weak nationally. There's elite kid. There's a couple elite kids, the Delp kid. There's a few of them out there, but Florida State's not getting those guys. You've got to find floor guys who are athletic, who can come in, and even if they can't play tight end, they may be able to do something else. The Courtney kid shows he can probably play a little bit of linebacker, could grow into potentially like a Fox at some point. He's pretty massive, and he put up some great testing numbers. You're bringing in a guy who, if anything, is going to be able to probably play somewhere on your team, not just special teams. So, you bring him in, he raises the floor for that tight end room. He's a natural fit for that 3-back position, which is that H-back role that they want to do where they move him around a lot. We saw, who did we see there last year?
Preston Daniel?
Preston Daniel, yeah. We saw Preston Daniel there a lot last year. This is a more athletic body type there, more athletic than Wyatt Rector. So you get a kid that fits what you want. It just makes sense, in my opinion. It just makes sense.
I have just a comment on this, and kind of just talking about it. Like his film is pretty impressive. Brian Courtney's film. I really like it. But the one thing that I said, when they originally took his commitment is, you got to work him out. There's no reason that he shouldn't have worked out at Florida State in June. I don't think he did. He performed in any camps. They could have worked him out, privately, but I don't, he didn't talk about that at all when we spoke to him. But I just think that getting him to work in a camp setting is something that probably would have been really beneficial after kind of taking his commitment out of the blue. Shortly after they offered and got him down for the spring game. So I guess that was the one thing like that for me, kind of siding with Josh on that one. But I do
company man. I like that.
Well,
yeah, I agree with Adam.
Let me ask this question. What do you, and I don't disagree with the workout part, but what do you think they would see or find in his workout that would say, I don't know. You watch that kid's film, and I just mean this from the standpoint of you watch his film, you see football player, right? I mean, you turn that kid's film on, it is football player. Yeah. You can see he's willing to hit, he can run, he can jump, he can do all those things. At some point, I think you've got to trust your evaluations and say, all right, I'm seeing he checks all these, Chris knee term here, he checks all these boxes on film. All I'm going to bring him in and work out, all I'm going to find out is whether they can catch the football. And I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean like you said, like that final part is just kind of what I would want to see. Just his film has no tight end reps on it, which is the process, or they're projecting him at the next level. So that was my thing. Like I wanted to see like, oh, is he a decent route runner? Can he get in and out of his breaks quick? Does he have hands? Like we don't really see that on his high school film, and maybe he'll do some of that in this upcoming season. I know he kind of played a late spring season over there in Virginia. So that definitely played into it. But like I said, like that was like the main thing, like the drawback on the take was just when he first came in, I was like, okay, they got to get him to work out. I don't believe he did. So that was just the main thing for me when they originally took him, was just see how he works at the position that you're going to project him at the next level.
He is the Jordan Eubanks of the 2021 class.
Well, it's one of those things too. I understand where both parties are in this opinion, because you like the kid, you trust what you see, you trust your evaluations, you hop on them quick. However, not a kid at this moment where I don't really understand the sense of urgency either. It's okay to get like some hands-on verification of some of the things that you saw in the film. Now, unless you think that this kid is going to just blow up after some more film and some more scouting, some things like that, and you're afraid of it, I understand both points. I don't know exactly where I lean on it. Probably, I might have liked to see him with my own eyes, especially if you can get a kid like Earl Little to work out, you can get a kid like a Brian Courtney to work out, and I think that's fine. I think he's something on that. However, did get another commit in that class, Jarrell Powers. Now, Kevin, I'll leave it up to you. Do you want to go over his film now, kind of do like a quick scouting breakdown on him? You want to leave him towards the end? I'm fine. What do you think?
Let's just go ahead and do it.
Let's Powers through it. Disgusting dad joke aside, terrible pun. I apologize immediately. Let's look at the film.
Zach, why don't you tell us a little bit about him while we get the film going?
Yeah, well, Florida State has been in on him along with his teammate, like we mentioned earlier, Jalen Early, the offensive lineman over at Duncanville, Texas High School, a powerhouse over there. He's kind of a guy that's going to project for them as a Cam McDonald type, an athletic pass-catching tight end, who they're going to try to, work inside a little bit, doing some blocking schemes, but mostly he's going to serve as kind of just an offensive weapon to create some mismatches on the defense. They were really impressed with his size when he came in for his official visit the last weekend of June, and that kind of checked all the boxes if we're going with a Chris knee term like you mentioned. But going after that visit, obviously Florida State made a big move. He took officials to Colorado and Oregon State in June as well, but FSU wins out at the end as he committed on July 2nd. And I think I asked him kind of specifically, like, if another school comes in on you late and is trying to flip you, like, are you going to take any other visits? And he kind of made it clear, like, no, like if I wasn't a priority at their school, from the start, with all my film out there, like I'm not going to make them a priority if they come calling late. So
Nice.
a solid commitment for Florida State, a guy that they got to see in person and got to size up, and he plays at one of the most talented classifications in Texas high school football, which is just a really competitive and well funded just operation over there, which is just kind of crazy to see with all those facilities they have at his school and just all those schools that he's playing against. So
Dude, this is nuts. This kid is on the outside in every single clip. Every single clip, this kid is like a legitimate outside wide receiver.
Yep.
He was a basketball player, right?
Yeah, cool. And he has played receiver his entire career. Kind of came to football late. He told me he was 170 pounds. I think over a year ago, and within a year he went from 170 to 230. So
Jeez.
put on a ton of mass.
Jeez.
He said that Florida State's probably going to get him up to like 245 is probably the max weight that he'll get to. But obviously, like we've seen, he still moves well with some added weight. And he'll look to make that transition from what you see on film as a traditional receiver, kind of molding him into a more of a tight end.
I'll probably say what some people are thinking. In a not as deep tight end class with a kid who looks pretty impressive from that film, at least athletically.
Yep.
How come some better schools aren't on him besides like an Oregon State and a Colorado? No offense to any Beaver or Buffaloes that we have on this.
They're just wandering through this film.
Yeah, just whatever, hiking through the wilderness and the tumbleweeds. But what is there a flaw in there that I'm not seeing, or just it doesn't seem like the typical level of competition even a depleted Florida State goes against?
Yeah, I wondered the same thing, and I kind of asked around. I think a lot of people just haven't seen. Like I think this is happening all over the country. I think there's some really good players that are not getting recruited by some schools they should be across the nation, especially in the state of Florida with some specific guys. And I think it's just coaches not if the recruit's not visiting their campus, they're not putting a ton of time into evaluating those prospects. And I think there's going to be a lot of guys that kind of go under the radar. I'm not saying Jarrell Powers is a guy that schools in Texas are just forgetting about somehow.
Sure.
Recruiting services out there, they probably laid eyes on this kid for sure in his film. But I think Florida State's kind of he's kind of newer to football, has a basketball background. They're kind of buying stock on him early, hoping that he has a big senior season heading into probably an early enrollment over in Tallahassee. And I think I like the take for Florida State with him. I think finishing out the class, if you want to characterize Julio Skinner as a tight end or a receiver, he'd be kind of that last piece to that group. And I think that with Powers and Skinner, I think that's a good duo. And then you add Courtney, who may be able to go on the offensive side or defensive side, or even a special teams just monster with how he hits on the field. So I think those three are pretty good. And Powers, we'll see if he picks up any more offers heading into fall camp over in Texas and then into his senior season. So it'll be interesting to see. But I like the take.
I will say that probably one of the biggest question marks might be, if he is putting on weight and he's got the frame to put on weight, he has no film showing that he can block. And so you don't want a 250-pound wide receiver. So at the end of the day, that might be a roadblock for a lot of teams right now.
But we know that teams are going to want, especially the flow of football is going to more 12 personnel with two tight ends on the field to get teams out all these nickel looks and into base looks with three linebackers on the field. So a kid like that flexed out, in that Cam McDonald role like Zach talked about, and that inside in the trips and that slot role in the trips or whatever. Yep. If they play him at 230 or maybe 235, somewhere in that ballpark, it could be a threat.
Well, maybe Yeah, and maybe too with a not as deep tight end class, instead of trying to find that one complete tight end, you get some guys who have some kind of elite traits at blocking, elite traits at catching, and you try to just kind of mash together a Frankenstein tight end the best you can. It is interesting, Zach, because a lot of the stuff that you said about Jarrell Powers, I think applies to his teammate Jalen Early, the offensive lineman. So I'll get to the offensive line to make the segue a little bit cleaner, because I'd like to talk about him. In your mock class, you've got all these guys are commits, by the way. Quayshawn Sapp, Kanaya Charlton, Aluba, and Antavius Woody, all guys that we've gone over film. We're not gonna belabor those points enough. Go look at our other videos. The kid Jalen Early, who Jarrell Powers is his teammate, higher rated than Jarrell Powers, but a weird mix of competition. Apparently Texas Tech is the biggest threat for him. Is he a tackle? Is he an interior guy? Give me your thoughts on Jalen Early, a prospect who I think I like him from what I've seen so far.
Yeah. The biggest question with him is like interior, or if you could push him out to a tackle position. And I think he's listed as a tackle on 24/7 Sports, but I believe Florida State wants him as an interior guy who could possibly play some like right tackle. I think you see some of that on film. Duncanville's so loaded. I think they have another like 5. Don't they have like a 5-star tackle, Cameron Williams?
Yeah.
I'm looking at this offensive line is stupid for a high school.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just crazy. Like, but I think like at any other high school, he'd probably get some reps at tackle, and you probably see some more of him at that position. I just think that.
So is he playing center here, or left guard?
I think he's playing right guard. 52.
Oh,
he's been playing mostly guard. That's what he told me when I think
it's just
Alex
hard to tell with so many. They're all pretty good, Usually they stand out.
Their splits are pretty tight too.
Yeah.
Sorry, Zach. What did Atkins?
No, yeah, Alex Atkins kind of telling him that he's viewing him as a guard at the next level, but he could also shift out to a tackle position if they need him, kind of wherever he fits best once they get him on campus. But he's got an excellent build. We saw him in person, and he looks like a typical interior guy in my opinion. Just seeing him for the first time, but you never know. It's really difficult to find that one of those true tackle or left tackle prospects that's got that really wiry frame and has that just mobility to go with it. And I think Jalen Early kind of is more of a traditional interior that could push outside more than as opposed to like a Daughtry Richardson or Elijah Pritchett, where we're more long in their stature.
Athletic guy playing left guard. I like a lot of the movement that he's got. It's interesting that you say, because you said Daughtry Richardson, you said Elijah Pritchett, a lot of names that we've talked about. The last guy that you think in the class is Daughtry Richardson, who is not committed yet. Apparently, I think his commitment is coming up soon. He's on commit watch. It's a big FSU Miami battle. The slingshot versus the Boston Whaler or whatever poverty boat that Manny Diaz had those kids on at Paradise Camp. What do you think about now, Kevin? We've gone over Daughtry Richardson before, right? Like his film.
Yeah, we have, but I'll pull it up anyway.
So you can pull it up. And what I really want to talk about, because we talked about Daughtry before, Zach, who are the tackles and who are the interior linemen in this class to you? If your mock goes the way we think it is, who are the tackles and who are the IOL?
I think the tackles are like, it's just difficult because there's a lot of guys that are kind of just questions to me. Like, I think Antavius Woody could maybe play some tackle. I'm not completely sold on that, just because after seeing him in person, he's not, super tall, but he's
good length. Apparently, he's got good length.
Yeah, we've had this has been a conversation on our YouTube channel here.
I bring it up because it's like the running back board to me. I don't think you're taking a bunch of good prospects, and I don't think we really know what they're going to be yet at the next level, which is interesting.
I agree and I disagree. I think that there's some window dressing, or maybe not window shopping. I don't know how to put this, but I think that there are some folks that are looking at linemen and looking at their body makeup in the traditional sense of what they think an offensive tackle should be. And I think it is more about what Atkins is looking for more is arm length and those kinds of new school traits when he's looking for an offensive tackle. When I heard that Antavius Woody had measured 83-inch arms, I think that's what it was. That's elite NFL length. That's what you are looking for day one from an offensive tackle going in the NFL. That right away to me, I mean, it's sold. He's an offensive tackle in my opinion. I don't care how short he is. I don't care how stocky it is. If you have an 83-inch arms or whatever they were, that's what you need to play offensive tackle. And I and that's what I think with Early too. Early looks pretty long. Zach, did you guys get numbers on his length?
Yeah, we have them somewhere. Like we got all like I have the numbers from all those official visitors and what they measured in at, but like Trey was saying, like asking like who are the guys that could play tackle that are in that mock class. I think Jalen Early, Daughtry Richardson, and Tavius Woody. Like I believe Alex Atkins told Antavius Woody that he's being recruited as a tackle. Some people are saying that he's going to project better as a guard, but like you said, like his measurements were really impressive. They were impressed with his length, vertically and laterally, just with his wingspan. And I think just like you said, like there's a lot of traits that Atkins and most other offensive line coaches across the country are looking for these days. Trying to project into the NFL, just because the offensive line position is so hard to project at the next level. Then taking it a step further in the pros, and I think Woody, just because he has that background of playing both offense and defensive line, he's explosive off the line. When you watch his film at D tackle, he kind of translates that over to the offensive line. And I think with his length, he could definitely play offensive tackle at Florida State.
Something to watch. I like it. The thing that I like is I really like all the players, so that's fine. I'd rather take a bunch of guys where you're not really sure where they're going to pan out and they're pretty good, as opposed to, wow, this guy is a traditional offensive tackle, but he kind of sucks a little ass. So that's fine. I'll take that. I'll take that trade.
Isn't it exciting
dude, that's a great offensive line class. It really is.
The fact that we could sit here and have this conversation about offensive line play is incredible to me.
Well, isn't it interesting too that you would feel positive about a mock class without a Julian Armel or an Elijah Pritchett in it? And if those names that we said from Zach's mock, like if it came out to be that way, I would feel very positive about that offensive line class.
Yeah, me too.
All right, let's move on to defensive line. We'll keep it with the trench theme. Trevion Williams, who's just a freak and a half, very, very good at the football. Aaron Hester, 2 commits. Nigel Kelly, we already talked about him. Bishop Thomas, who is a commit. And the new name on the list, not a commit yet, interior defensive lineman, Daniel Lyons. So out of all the names that, I mean, they've all been connected to Florida State in one way. For whatever reason, Daniel Lyons isn't the one that people are talking about a lot, Zach. And is that because it's been a quiet recruitment, or is he not as an exciting prospect as the other guys? How do you feel about Daniel Lyons? Kevin, is this his film right here?
Yeah, this is Daniel.
Okay.
I think he's probably one of, if not the top defensive tackle down in South Florida this cycle. And there's some pretty
nasty.
Good
I like that.
Long.
Yeah. And that defensive line for Homestead is really good. He's paired up with edge Dante Anderson, who FSU is also involved with. They've talked about being a package deal, but I don't, with all those package deals, it never really works out that way. So
no.
I think Odell Higgins, when he kind of keys in on a guy, it's a good sign. And I think Daniel Lyons is a guy that he's liked for quite some time. I actually met Daniel the first time at the Under Armour All-American camp in Miami back in March. And the first thing when I asked him about Florida State, he just said Odell, like that his relationship.
Really? One word emphatic.
Yeah, like he kind of was just like smiling, and I think that just showed a lot. Like Odell has been building that relationship, and like you mentioned, like he's not a guy that a lot of people are talking about, and I think a reason for that is I don't think his recruitment's like really started off yet. Like I think like the season will probably be more telling into where he heads for official visits. But he's been to FSU and Miami already in June, and he was there for the elite camp. He worked out some. I don't think he did any one-on-one stuff, but he got to work out with Odell Higgins and was in Doak for that final portion, which is pretty cool. And that's where I got to talk to him, and he had a great time. I think Miami's probably viewed as the top competition, and they've got him on campus multiple times in June. So I think Florida State sits well. I'm not ready to project him, like crystal ball him into the class just yet.
Just mock draft him.
Just a little
mock MD, no CB.
1.0 action with him so far, but we'll see where that goes. I'm not sure when he's official visiting yet. I gotta catch up with him and see. It might be for that Notre Dame game. That seems like when they're going to get most of their targets and commits on campus for officials.
I like him, dude. Athletic kid. If Florida State seems to be moving in the vein of like the three technique kind of disruptor guy, not so much like the Robert Cooper space eater type kids.
Yeah.
I don't know how much more weight that kid's going to put on him. So he looks like he's got a pretty solid frame, but really athletic and like disruptive. And Jesus Christ, you're right about that high school team's defensive line, Zach. I was getting some like James Blackman flashbacks, so, like when that poor kid was just getting flooded with like defenders.
Yeah,
that's a good team, man. Good program. And I'm more excited about the kid after watching the film. And it seems like he's an Odell guy. So that'll be good. That'll be good. Nice win for Odell. Let's move to linebackers. Omar Graham, the commit, did some film on him. Daniel Martin, who you guys will be happy, is projected in the Blow 1.0, in the mock draft 1.0 Blow.
Video where you guys broke down his film. That was
We love Daniel Martin.
He's our favorite uncommitted. He's my favorite uncommitted right now that we're serious with.
And the other guy that makes up this sneakily maybe the best position group recruiting in the not if that DB class. I can't wait to talk about the DBs. Jesus Christ, that's a hell of a class. And they're coming up next. Jerron Willis is the guy. The current Georgia Tech commitment, is the guy that we have rounding out this class. Legend. Yeah, fun, weird recruitment for him, but a linebacker class of Omar Graham, Jerron Willis, and Daniel Martin. Sign me up. I think that's all it really needs to be said. I think we talked about. We got some. Is this some Willis film?
Yeah, this is Willis.
All right. Well,
this ain't no safety tape.
No. Zach, talk a little bit about the move that Florida State made with him.
Yeah, so they get him in that official visit on the last week of June. He tweeted out something like coming out of the visit, saying that he had some news. Nothing ever came of that. He deleted the tweet. I think he got
recruiting is so stupid, dude.
Yeah, he told me, like, I basically called him up like the day after or 2 days after his visit, and was basically like, you can air it out, tell the fans kind of just where your head's at. And I wrote an article about that, and he kind of explained, like, he got on the phone with the Georgia Tech coaches after the FSU visit, slowed it down a little bit. I think he was planning to at least decommit. I don't know if a flip was coming, that soon, but I think, he's still rethinking things. Obviously, Florida State made a big move with him on the official. I don't think they're doing. I really don't think they're right now pushing for him to flip. I think they're kind of just letting him, go through the process and kind of think things out. Georgia Tech obviously got him to commit to them early on, before the month of June started.
Dude, that hit was disgusting. Yeah. I love this kid's film.
Yeah,
I'm
this
a
kid
savage.
Is fun.
I'm a savage, so I think the linebacker film speaks to me more, just the violence of it. But I think that's a smart strategy, Zach. There's no need to push the kid. You know how you stack up compared to Georgia Tech. You showed him where he's going to be making his money at the next. My God, he's so fast. At the next level, and it doesn't look like safety to me. So I think he just.
It's interesting that they told him stud though, because I don't see stud either. I think he's a Mike.
You think this kid's a Mike?
That's neither here nor there.
What?
Kevin disagrees.
I think I would put him at stud.
Over Daniel Martin.
I mean, if we're getting both, then I'll just have a. Yeah, I mean, I'll put him on the field. I don't, I don't care.
He's what? He's 230, right, Zach?
Yeah, I think he measured at 228 at FSU.
If you have the freedom to put this kid at Mike because you have a Daniel Martin, then you put him at Mike. But otherwise, I think he could play stud.
Good player. Hope they get it.
These would be fun things for us to have.
I don't know.
His
Yeah, this would be a
recruitment's
fun
His
conversation.
recruitment's got a long way to go, though, right, Zach?
Wait.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know when. Like, he didn't give me a timetable for when he's gonna have that final decision, but I think it could go the distance. Just seeing how both teams play, and seeing kind of where he can fit in the defense. And I think like he measured at 228 in high school. Like I don't see a reason why that kid doesn't put on like 10 more pounds going into college and turns into a stud linebacker who can drop into coverage but also go down and make some big plays in the box. So I just think that it's going to be interesting to see I think he's planning to visit Georgia Tech at the end of July. I don't know if he'll make it to FSU too, but they'll probably push for that at the very least. And then I believe he'll make it over to Florida State for a game. I think he mentioned Notre Dame in our interview, but we interviewed so many guys I kind of forgot.
So Zach, riddle me this: Why when I'm talking about Martin and Willis, two guys that I really like the film of, why are they competing against Georgia Tech and Vanderbilt for these kids?
Yeah, I think with Willis, he also took officials to Arkansas and Ole Miss. So those are, Ole Miss is a pretty decent option for him as well. But I think his dream school has always been Florida State. I think Georgia Tech is kind of the school that did the best job of selling him on being a defensive back. Obviously, like, everyone has their opinion on that, but Florida State's kind of selling the stud position now. They broke it down with him on the official visit. I just think that like I think Willis is talented. Like, obviously we saw it on film, but like you said, it's interesting that like a Georgia or other schools aren't kind of at least keeping him warm.
Right.
But obviously those schools are. It's a weird cycle where those schools are kind of keying in on really, really top tier guys, and that's probably the only tier of guys they're going to take in their classes, just because of the whole roster situation with these super seniors and the COVID scholarships transferring over. So it'll be interesting. But I think with him, and then Daniel Martin, he's been described, and I met him. He's kind of a different cat, kind of not a traditional all about the hype recruit. Kind of cares more about academics and all that stuff. And I think that's why Vanderbilt's really involved. And I think academics is probably one of the biggest things. And Chris Marv's done a great job with him. And he was over at Florida State in that early portion of June. But I believe Oregon is the other school that's involved with him. So that's pretty good competition with Daniel Martin. I think he's heading over there at the end of July. So
I can show Daniel around the chemistry department if he wants a more in-depth tour of the academic facility.
Whoa, we are not getting any sanctions, baby.
Nerding out.
I'm not getting any money. I don't have any money.
Well, I can tell you one thing. You get a linebacker class with Omar Graham, Jerron Willis, and Daniel Martin. I can promise that the Lens Crafters jokes about Chris Marv stop in their tracks. You can wear whatever dope-ass frames you want with your awkwardly fitting dad vest. I think it all stops there. That would be a star-studded class. And this has been a star-studded episode, been jam-packed with all sorts of information. However, I believe, as we often do, the best for last, the DB class. Travis Hunter, stupid. There's another stupid highlight from him every single day. He's in it. Sam Mccall, a guy who is a lot more solid than I would have thought when he was first committed, just a really good recruiter for Florida State. He's projected in the class. The last name is fun. Dion Smoke Bowie. Great nickname. Big fan of the nickname.
Where the hell did that come from?
Yeah, just a guy who got to Florida State's campus. I believe he's a former Georgia commit, right, guys? He's a former Georgia Bulldog commit.
And then everybody thought he was flipping to Texas A&M, and then that didn't happen. And
very talented guy. Zach, give me that would be such a stupid DB class. What do we think of the player? What happened with him? There's some intrigue around this recruit. Chat me up.
Yeah, well, I think the biggest thing is that he's kind of opened up his recruitment. Obviously, decommitted from Georgia. I think it was early summer, early June. He visited Texas A&M. By all accounts, that visit went well. I don't think his recruitment's really shaped out with all the schools that are in the mix. I think he's going to take a bunch of officials during the season, including to Florida State. But that last DB spot is kind of hard to project for me. You got Earl Little, Smoke Bowie, Dalen Everett, Kamari Wilson, just a lot of top tier guys that visited FSU in the month of June. But I'm not sure like that one of those guys is like a surefire guy that's going to go to Florida State. And most of them are taking their recruitments kind of farther into the season and into the winter postseason, heading into signing day. So it was a hard position to project, but Smoke's our mother is a big Florida State fan. He told us that when he visited for that 7-on-7 camp, came over to the facility. So the next visit, they're going to look to get him on campus in July, and getting his mother to join him on that visit will be big. He mentioned that's his plan. That's what he wants to do. He wants to get his mom over there because she's a big fan. And I think Marcus Woodson's kind of, trying to figure out which piece fits well. Travis Hunter's kind of that alpha dog, and they don't want to take, that away from him. Obviously,
I don't think you can at this point.
That's my opinion, but they want to, keep all these high tiered,
sure,
feeling like priorities still, if they add like another really talented guy like a Smoke Bowie, like a 5-star defensive back. I think Travis is super close with Bowie as well. I mean, it seems like he's close with literally everyone in the country, especially in the state of Georgia.
Right. Jesus Christ. He's friends with everybody.
Travis Hunter's my best friend. I'm like I think he's like crazy. But he's got that charismatic energy to him, and he's always talking up everyone at all these events that he's at. He's at a different event like every weekend, it seems. So born competitor, but Smoke Bowie's kind of the guy that was like, I think his recruitment has kind of unknowns to it, and I think because of that, I wanted to spice up the list a little bit, adding him at that final spot, so people could talk about that and give their opinions on who they think they would have rather had in the mock class.
Well, it worked. We damn near talked about it for an hour, brother. So the people are talking. We are the people, and we are talking. So just phenomenally crafted series of articles. Let me go over just kind of the stats of where that would stack up, and I'll ask you just a couple of rapid fire questions. It's been a very full episode. So that is 25 total prospects in that mock 1 point blow, 15 current commits. 10 of those prospects are not committed yet. I'm glad you laughed at my pun, a little bit delayed effect, a little time release joke there. Okay. So three rapid fire. Three rapid fire questions. So in your class right now, you have no decommits from Florida State's current class. Who would be the most likely candidate to decommit? Who is the next person on your list to commit? And who would be the hardest pull? Just 3 of those rapid fire.
Decommit, I'd probably put Sam Mccall, just because I don't think he's like fully shut down his recruitment.
Okay.
I think, some other schools are probably going to try to get involved with him, especially during the season. Your next one was who's next to commit?
Yep.
Maybe Jaleel Skinner.
Okay. Before Daughtry Richardson?
Oh, true. Daughtry Richardson, June 26th. Man, I don't know. It's going to be tough because I think like Daughtry Richardson's going to visit Florida State at the end of June and then make a decision the day after I think he visits. So, I mean, I probably put him, and then Jalen Early I think is August 2nd, and
they're all right there. They're right there.
Jaleel Skinner is kind of an unknown for his decision timeline. So
okay, hardest pull of those 10 uncommitted guys.
Definitely. I think definitely the guy we just talked about, Dayon Bowie. I think all those schools like Florida, Texas A&M, Georgia, a couple other schools are going to try to get him on officials during the season, and I think he's going to be a tough pull. But he lives, Bainbridge is only 45 minutes to an hour away from Tallahassee. So probably shouldn't be difficult to get them on campus multiple times if they want to, either at the end of July or during the season for multiple home games. So that'll definitely be a priority for them. So we'll see. They have some stuff going for them in that recruitment, but a lot of other powerhouses trying to get him in their class.
Hey, let me ask one last question.
Go
please.
ahead. Wrap it up.
Where's Marvin Jones Jr. going?
Bama.
FSU finishing second or third?
I think second.
Silver medal. All right. Well,
Silver medals they matter now with the transfer portal and all that. They matter more now, I should say.
they do. There you go. I like that. Zach, once again, you always get the people talking. You got our viewers talking. Wonderful episode full of just only the information that you can find right here at the Triple Option on the X's and Noles YouTube channel. Zach, dude, it's been too long, brother. It's been too long. Always a pleasure speaking with you. I enjoyed myself greatly. I know I'll speak for Kevin and Adam. I think they did as well.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys. I love this show, and you guys do a great job. So I hope, just honored to be a part of it, really. So I appreciate
Zach,
you guys.
you never told a lie in your entire life, so I know that's coming right from the heart. Coming right from here, right from there, that place. Well, listen, speaking of people we love you, our viewers. Thank you so much. We'll be back because Mike Norvell and the Florida State staff will not allow us to rest, so we will not. We will see you soon. Thank you for joining another episode of the Triple Option. For myself, for Kevin Little, for Coach Adam Brown, for the guy, Zach Blostein, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you again.